I'm Danny Otto. Welcome into an all-new episode of That Recap Show. Now, before we get into the episode, just want to issue major spoiler alert. We are going to be going over everything that happened in Season 2, Episode 3 of The Last of Us. So if you haven't watched that episode yet, you may want to pause this video, head over to Max, check out that episode, and then come back and enjoy the breakdown. Now, with that out of the way, let's start the show.
Poppin' Off presents That Recap Show.
All right, joining with me to break down everything from episode 3 of season 2 of The Last of Us, it's Jon Rico.
Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
Oh, man. You know, but between The Last of Us and Andor right now, because we're going through those, we need like a comedy movie or a comedy series. Because both of these shows, like, they're amazing. Don't get me wrong. I am not complaining about what we're getting. But it's just they're very heavy. Both series.
Reading good.
Yeah. But it's almost like they're like so heavy that like in my off time I'm just like putting on, you know, past sitcoms just to hear fake laughter. And I'm just like I need happy stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm watching a lot of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of my comforts. I have like Bob's Burgers that I put on all the time. Like I even went as far as like Big Bang Theory, the first few seasons of that. Like
oh, that's some classic stuff.
Yeah, just some background. I just need to hear the fake audience laughter and stuff every once in a while.
Yeah, a couple of fart jokes, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So that actually leads perfectly into my instant reaction fart jokes. No, so my brain, because I was like, this is going to be an emotional episode, just going into it because of how the episode 2 ended, and we had our big moment of, you know, the loss of Joel and everything like that. I had to prepare myself. So my brain was already trying to work in overdrive to like make something funny or make something like make a connection of something. So I just realized that the same actor that plays Dina in The Last of Us also starred in a Dora the Explorer movie.
Yep.
And Dina in this episode brings in a map and talks about her backpack and all of this stuff. And I was just like,
Ellie not having boots.
Yeah. I was just envisioning Dina looking at the camera and go,
Hola, soy Dora, and this is Backpack.
Like when she shows up to the house, she'd be like, Hola, soy Dina. And
yeah.
She just has the stuff. Yeah.
but yeah, my brain was just like, I can't believe this is happening, especially because she brought in the map. But yeah, so there's plenty of things to talk about, but that was just kind of my ray of laughter, my ray of sunshine for this episode. But Rico, what were some of your instant reactions for episode 3?
Yeah, Isabella Merced is she's kind of like making quite a name for herself because she's in quite a few things. She was I think it was episode 1. I brought in how good she was in Alien Romulus. She's fantastic in that movie, and of course she's going to be hot girl in the upcoming Superman movie too. So she's building up quite a profile here in 2025 and 2024 as well. So I feel like the sky's only the limit for someone like her because she's doing an excellent job in this show overall. I feel like she's like a standout character, especially compared to her counterpart in the game as well, who I feel like is a little bit more like chill compared to Isabella's version. So I like that she brings a lot more like personality to the character, and it makes her a lot more endearing to the audience. I would say. But yeah, I really love this episode. This was definitely like our breather episode, so to speak, to kind of wind us down after the big moment with Joel in the last episode. So I kind of like that they really just kind of like gave the characters their moment to shine in these kind of moment this kind of episode. There's some beautiful cinematography in this episode too. So like as someone who's into photography and stuff like that, I just love the way they can create certain imagery in these type of shows. So yeah, there's some really great stuff in here. But one of the things I really did love in this episode was the way they introduced the Seraphites, the religious kind of cult group that we
Yeah.
meet a little bit later on in the game. I feel like in the story, but I kind of like that they kind of give us a little bit more of who they are as humans. In this in the scenes that we meet him in this episode, particularly the scene with the leader and his daughter, just kind of like just having this little back and forth conversation, particularly about their profit and stuff, and just their overall beliefs and why they do what they do. That was a cool way to just kind of like humanize that group overall, because we're going to be seeing a lot more of them in the story later on. Because I feel like in the game they're just kind of like the first time we see them, we're just kind of like these non-speaking whistlers who are really scary people, and you gotta just get through them or kill them basically. So they're just basically enemies in the game,
Right.
until you meet a couple of people later on that we're probably gonna meet too. But yeah, but so I just kind of like the way that they just kind of humanize the group overall too, so that like obviously when we see them later on, when Ellie and Dina discover what happens to that group later on, which is pretty brutal. Um, yeah, it hits a little bit harder too, and it just it creates this little bit of a dynamic between this group here, the wolves, and all that. So it's very interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I know we'll get into predictions, and we both have other predictions that are not this. Who do you think mowed them down? Which is the lightest way I could say that. Holy shit.
Yeah, I'd say just say it was the wolves.
I've been seeing different theories, and I'm just interested. Like I wanna see like what you're thinking in that. So
For sure.
but yeah, you want to get to some big takeaways?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, why don't you kick up big takeaways?
So yeah, again, just kind of going back to how this episode was really just kind of like a character driven episode. We didn't really have any real like big action scenes. If any, I don't think we had any, if I'm not mistaken. Really, like we had Ellie training and getting some physical therapy in on the punching bag, but that's probably about the most I can think of here. But one of the things I really loved was that we kind of got Ellie and Tommy both getting like a really proper amount of time in the episode to really like mourn Joel. So I mean, we get a great opening scene with Tommy right there sitting over Joel's body, that we don't get in the game specifically, because obviously the way that happens in the game is much different. Tommy's actually there, so we actually get that moment because now that Tommy was defending the city in the TV show, we kind of get him getting to see him for the first time and just coming like that moment to himself to really grieve Joel's loss. So I think that was a really well done scene by great Gabriel Luna, who's been killing it as Tommy, by the way. And I think there's been a lot of overall character changes to Tommy in this episode, particularly because it kind of leads into my other point, which is like the complete 180 turnaround from Seth as the character too. Overall, when we get the big city council meeting, and Seth's just like, "What the hell, man? Like, we gotta go after him." And he's like fully backing Ellie's cause, basically, and it ultimately leads to him being the one that like helps them get out of the city too. Which correlating that with Tommy's whole character changes that in the games, like Tommy's the one that initially goes out to go find Abby and all them, and they actually send Ellie and Dina to go after Tommy, which kind of leads them like on this kind of same journey here. So the way they kind of change up the reason, or the way that Ellie and Dina end up going on this journey to Seattle, I think is very interesting too, because I'm wondering how it's going to play into Tommy's overall arc in the story later on in the game too, without getting too much into spoilers too. But obviously he's going to have a role to play. But yeah, so I'm very interested to see what those tiny little changes are going to do to try to alter events that are going to happen later on in the story. That are probably going to differ from the game to some degree, just because again they're probably looking to give us two different experiences. Right. As people who played the game, of course, and then of course you people who didn't play the game. This is going to be their version of the story that they're going to see. So yeah, it's very interesting to see what's going to happen when it comes to like those little factors that they change and what they can do going forward.
Yeah, and I mean, I've seen criticism for and against like how they're doing things, but I'm enjoying it so far because it kind of, just like you said, we have to kind of wait and see what they're adjusting and what they're ripping like word for word or shot for shot from the game. So it is kind of, we're still getting the key events, but just like variations of leading up to them or variations of other things like coming from those key events. And it makes the TV show just as interesting as, experiencing the game. because you never know exactly what's going to be the same and exactly what's going to be different. Those key events are still going to happen. Like we knew Joel was going to die. Like you know what I mean? Like they weren't not going to do that. So yeah, I'm really enjoying kind of not knowing exactly what's going to happen every single moment of the series so far. What I was gonna say, kind of also along the same lines of the Ellie and Tommy, man, they sure know, the creators of the show, how to just stick that knife in a little bit more and twist it, just like, and that guttural scream at the beginning of the episode when Ellie finally wakes up for the first time.
She's like mentally back in that moment.
Yeah. Holy shit.
Beautiful
like
stuff.
It's just, yeah, and everything when she finally like gets out of the hospital after 3 months and goes back to like her and Joel's house and just like seeing all of his stuff still, and just, oh man, it's just
brutal stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we called this a breather episode, but still, like breather only because of lack of.
It's slower in terms of intensity, especially after the whole attack on the city in the last episode.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. They just know how to just twist it a little bit more.
The graveyard scene. It's all. It was just brutal.
Yeah. Which is one of the shots I hope you were talking about.
That was one of the shots. The best cinematography. That was just like, damn, that's just like
absolutely beautiful
stuff. Yeah,
absolutely beautiful shot. But yeah, and kind of the one thing I kind of wanted to get into was not the one thing. There's plenty of things to talk about, but the rebuilding of Jackson. We miss a lot of it because it really just it shows us a glimpse of Tommy mourning, like, which we literally think is like the day after.
Like when they gathered all the dead,
mourning Joel's body, and then we see Ellie waking up, and then we kind of see them doing that, and then it's 3 months later, and they're still in the process of rebuilding and kind of physically rebuilding, but also rebuilding the society and everything. But my question, and I asked you this already, so my question is, has anyone paid attention to the pipes? Because I still feel like the guy that saw them so close to when the actual attack happened that he did not tell anybody else. And we haven't seen that character since. So, like, he's probably not around anymore. Is this coming back? Like, is this going to be another just, like, thing that's going to, be a threat later on? Like, I'm really curious because it's like, we're getting into warmer and warmer and warmer months, and so like I thought like the whole reason why they made the society in Jackson is because it's colder, you know what I mean? So it's a little bit harder for infected and stuff like that. But now it's getting warmer. We're in like at some point in March, so we're going into spring. And if we're supposed to believe that these vines are attached to everything, and they're also part of a hive mind, like. It's just gonna get worse. It's just gonna get worse from here in those pipes. So I'm still like in the back of my head. I'm always leaving that in the back of my head of like, if we don't see them actually dealing with it, are we still to believe that it's still a looming threat?
I think it was that those particular quarter sets were just meant to kind of like alert us about the incoming attack that happened in the last episode. Like those were the ones that were connected to like that, pretty much that giant horde that was burned to a crisp outside the city, right? So I think obviously when that person discovered that in the episode, and then they kind of went in all into defensive kind of like protocols right there. I figured that at some point they addressed that in like the 3 months after the fact, and since the first season it had been like what they said 5 years or whatever the time gap was too. So they've had these weather changes, I'm sure, at some point at this point of the year too. So I'm sure there's at some point where they're just like, I think we've taken all the little measures that we can take now. It's just whatever nature kind of allows at that point. But I have to assume at some point that was addressed, even though that we don't see that particular person on screen again after the fact. I think we can safely assume that he just alerted who we need to alert, and then we went on from there.
I'm gonna be watching those damn pipes, though. I'll take your word for it now. But I know anytime we get a shot of pipes or sinks or anything like that, toilets. Ooh, that would be horrible.
Ugh.
Toilets, anything like that. I'm gonna be looking. Shower heads.
Yeah, especially when you think about that one scene with the spores going into test, the little kiss, the spore kiss, the cordyceps kiss. You don't want that in the toilet. That's just no thank you. But yeah, it'd be interesting like how they handle those as opposed to spores, which I still imagine we're gonna see spores at some point too.
You
But
think so?
yeah, well, if without getting the spores, it plays into a big scene later on in the story too with Ellie. So it's yeah, I hope at one point maybe like if they show that they're starting to advance, like going airborne like that too, because we hadn't seen them yet. So just like the way we're seeing stalkers, like they're them being like enhanced intelligence, maybe they're finding new ways to spread the infection as well.
Yeah, I mean that would definitely be interesting, and it would go. It would be able to kind of open the door for like you said, certain scenes, certain pivotal scenes in the game, without having to kind of reconstruct the threat in those particular scenes.
And bloaters, if I'm not mistaken, in the game when they like blow up, they explode spores and stuff.
Yep.
So there's got to be some kind of like evolutionary aspect to that. I imagine as well.
Yeah. Cool. You want to get to some predictions?
Let's do it.
Awesome. All right, I'm gonna give up predictions just with it's almost like a cartoon like yikes moment, like where they pull out their collar. We have Dina and Ellie kind of overlooking the city of Seattle.
Yeah.
And yeah, good shot. But like I just like that, it's almost like they broke character because Ellie like is looking for like a badass catchphrase to say. And she says something and Dina's trying to place like what movie that came from or what thing that
yeah.
And she goes, "No, that was for me. I was just trying to sound badass." And Dina goes, "No, yeah. That was you don't have to try. You were." Like
yeah.
But the whole thing is
of course.
Yeah. The whole thing is they're still under the impression that, there's a very small group of, wolves around, like in Seattle, because they don't see anything, they don't hear anything, they don't, there's no like evidence of them right now.
Yeah, I guess they expected like more of like a cover of the city perimeter, I guess. Yeah.
Right. And then that end shot, like with just, tank and
militia.
Holy shit. Like that's an army. That is a makeshift army that they're very ill prepared for. Like I am very interested to see, what's going to happen with that. I have some theories. I don't have any of them constructed yet, so I'm not going to say them yet, but I'm very interested to see what's going to happen. Like with that whole mess. But Rico, what are some of your predictions, I guess, like moving forward? Now, we, just to kind of, pull the curtain back a little bit. We have seen kind of the look ahead, like a little teaser for episode 4 already.
Yeah, and we played the game, or I played. You haven't played. I played the game. I don't.
I watched the game. Yeah.
You watched the game. So I do know the story in some aspects there. I just don't know what they intend to change or kind of tweak here and there, which is the fun of watching the show for me too. Yeah. So now they're like officially in Seattle. Now we can kind of start like the day one for Ellie is because they know that the game kind of goes in days for each of them. So I'm curious how they're going to work in like how much we get of Ellie, how much of Abby in these in the story going forward. Because obviously we don't want to just follow only Ellie, and because in the game we follow mostly Ellie and then we go back to Abby, and then kind of recircle the events. So I'm curious how to keep the viewer like not forgetting about Abby as a character. They're probably going to have to intertwine the stories, I imagine, a little bit to some degree. So we're getting like a little bit of day one of each character, just to kind of keep keeping up with which character is going at that particular moment in time. So I'm really interested to see how they're going to work that part of it into the story. But I'm really looking forward to finally meeting Isaac, who played by Jeffrey Wright, who I'm really excited to see because he also plays Isaac in the game as well. He's the voice actor for Isaac as well. But I forgot I thought he was like a much bigger presence in the game. Like obviously he's mentioned a lot. He's got a looming presence overall in the game, but his actual like physical presence in the game is pretty minimal. So I'm really hoping to see kind of a more of a backstory for him as a character. It seems like we're gonna get some history of him before he was kind of leading the WLF, the Wolves. And I just love Jeffrey Wright as an actor too. I think
Yeah.
he's been killing it in everything that he was seeing him in lately. So I'm very excited just to kind of see more of him and be interacting with characters like Abby and stuff. So Jeffrey Wright being in this show is just great stuff. So I'm excited to see that mostly more than anything.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to see his addition like into the next. I guess it's the next episode. If not that, then like part of the end of the episode into episode 5. I'm also excited to see kind of like the train clips that we got teased.
Yeah, there's
like,
pretty cool little train clips. Yeah.
And if you don't know what's coming, next week's gonna be like the opposite of this week. It's gonna be fucking crazy.
Yeah. Trust. I think they're gonna definitely ramp things up after we kind of had that little like again the breather episode as they call it. We had a chance to kind of like settle down and let things just kind of simmer for a bit, and now we can turn the heat back up a little.
Just a smidge.
Yeah. Medium high.
Yeah, there we go. But in the meantime, as we always say, that's what we think. Let us know in the comments below. What did you think of episode 3? And what are you most looking forward to kind of see plot-wise moving forward? Whether you saw the game or whether you saw the game like me, whether you played the game like Rico, or if you're just watching it for the first time, what are you hoping to see moving forward? And as always, don't forget, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to hear about all of our latest audio and video podcast releases. Bye, everybody!
Popping Off presents That Recap Show.